Is Jesus paraphrasing Psalms, or is Psalms paraphrasing Jesus? I guess technically
Oh, heck.
Jesus came first. It's above our pay grade.
Yeah, no kidding. Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and a Bible. If you like the idea of a casual yet meaningful chat about the Bible with a couple of mates, listen in. Something that could be good for you today.
Today is day 171, covering Psalms 36, 37, 38, 39. If you need a brief overview of those, they're in the description.
Indeed. I realised we chatted the other day and I was saying how they weren't actually an overview. It was just like the first verse. Then I read it more closely and it is an overview, just like a together overview. It looks really weird. We should go and actually review it, because it's like, it is an overview, but it's like one, it looks like a single verse and it's just, I don't know, it's weird, man. Go and have a...
Yeah. My policy is that the viewer is mightier than me, so they'll just go look at it and work it out for themselves, probably. Absolutely. Go down there. It's cool. All good. But yeah.
All righty, cracking on with today's Psalm 36. I like it. Psalm 36, verse 1. There is no fear of God before their eyes. And in verse 2, too much. In their own eyes, they flatter themselves too much to detect or hate their sin. And I think there's so much truth in that, where so many of us, even as Christians, we just aren't aware of the impact of our sin and actually the fear of what life without God will be like. So I think we've touched on that before. We'll do it again. Like, fear of God isn't to be afraid of God. It's to fear what life without God would be like, which is hellish, right? And so that fear should be way more prevalent in our lives than it is. And we just don't fear God. And we don't detect the weight of our own sin. We don't hate our own sin enough. I think we've all have our, favorite sin, I think, is a term of C.S. Lewis. And it's like, do we love our favorite sin more than we love God? And what is the actual cost of that? Do we not fear him in our own eyes?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We fall into the trap of thinking because there are worse people than us, therefore we're sort of all right. And obviously that's not the case at all. So yeah, that's really good, man. A little bit later on in 36, although you might have to step back here in a sec. For with you is the fountain of life, in you, your light, we see light. That's 36 verse 9. I loved that little phrase. There are just these little pithy phrases in Psalms that I'm really enjoying. So in your light, we see light. I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
I think it speaks for itself, but yeah.
And you were like, love that. Yeah, it's cool. I hadn't noticed that. I pulled out just slightly before it, actually. You give them drink from your river of delight. It's just like a shout to, Jesus, the whole drink from my river, you'll never be thirsty again type of deal.
It's awesome. Yeah. Oh, you can't delete off these ones.
I didn't mean to, mate. It just jumped on me.
All good. All right. Jumping into 37, so I just have a quick one. The meek will inherit the land and enjoy peace and prosperity. Psalms 37 verse 11, that links directly to Matthew 5 verse 5, blessed are the meek. You see Jesus so much in here, and obviously, and it's just great to see these things that Jesus said literally being paraphrased by Psalms. Or is Jesus paraphrasing Psalms, or is Psalms paraphrasing Jesus? I guess technically, Jesus came first. Yeah. It's above our pay grade.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's a tough one. I like the thought on that. It's like the chicken and the egg, except the chicken was always there, but did the egg learn? I don't know, man. That's
the Jesus in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. What came first? So Psalm 37, 3 to 8, I love it because there's just such practical guidance in here. It has, take delight in the Lord, and he'll give you the delight of your hearts. Commit your way to the Lord and trust in him. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. And just these things in there are such simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, trust, I missed it. Trust in the Lord and do good. Take delight in him. Commit your way to him. Be still and refrain from anger. I love it when it gives me practical steps, because I can follow practical. When it's all like parables, I need the explanations because I ain't there. But it's just, such clear practical steps. As simple as that.
Yeah. It's I agree. I love that when it's just so black and white and clear. Parables are great for sort of giving a sense of the landscape on complicated stuff, right? but that is the good news about the good news, right? It is very simple.
Yeah.
In that sense. And that makes sense. I think that, people are like, oh, why would Jesus want this or whatever? It's like, well, because, keeping it simple for people means that more people can be saved. And that's ultimately what he wants, of course. Going a bit deeper, a bit later, into 37. I think we've got a couple more points on 37, haven't we? But the wicked borrow and do not repay, but the righteous give generously. So that's 37 verse 21. And I just really liked that as more of a parable-esque thing, actually, because I think a lot of people are very obsessed with money. They make money an idol. And the fact that this is just an example of one thing that people who idolize money do gives you just a general sense of the heart posture of someone who is idolizing and being materialistic, right? One of the things would be to borrow and not repay, because you're screwing someone over. It's just terrible.
Yeah. That's very true.
It's kind of
very
cool little thing.
I pulled out a whole massive chunk really, and it all kind of feeds into the same thing from Psalm 37. It was like 14, 15, 16, 21, 25, 32, and 33. And it's this whole section of speaking to the wicked, falling by their own sword, borrowing and not repaying, yet in the end being left with nothing, whereas the righteous are better off for having little, giving generously, than never being forsaken or left under the power of the wicked. And like the whole thing, when you like pull out the bullet points of it, like you can flesh it out, but it just does that whole thing really. And I was like, quite like the way that all sort of ties itself together.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. It's really, really cool seeing those threads. Kind of reminds me, like, just shout out to the Bible Project generally, right? The way that they take that big overview and put things together and say how it works out in chunks. You've done a like little mini Bible Project thing there. That's pretty sweet, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Moving into 38 for me, at least quickly. Just an overview thing, the whole thing just about, don't turn away from me and heal me and all of that. For some reason, it really reminded me of that awesome scene in The Chosen. If anyone listening or watching hasn't seen The Chosen, highly recommend it. Season 1, the leper comes to Jesus for healing, right? I don't know if you remember that scene, Ad, so I know you've watched it all and stuff. It's such a good scene. And for some reason, the way that Psalm 38 was written reminded me of that scene a lot. So check that out if you haven't seen it before. Is amazing.
Absolutely. I just going to jump back briefly before I touch on 38 as well. There was another couple of practical steps in 37, verse 37, which was consider the blameless, observe the upright. Future awaits those who seek peace. Like another just a little nugget, wasn't it? 38, what I sort of picked out of it is the Psalm of David, and then in verse 3 he's saying there is no soundness in my bones because of my sin. A few days ago we were chatting about how David was saying that he's blameless, he's sinless. At this he's acknowledging his own sin, and how we can read into that however we want to, but he is recognizing his sin. So
that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think it's kind of makes David more human as well, because at certain points I think that we do think so much of ourselves, and at other times we realize how crap we are, really, right? And you see that up and down with David in the different psalms and different seasons. So that's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. I've just got one more in 39, so I think you got a 38er.
Sure, last 38er. In later on, it's just kind of a bit of Job-esque vibes, really, because David is saying in verse 10 and 11, my heart pounds, strength fails me, the light has gone from my eyes, my friends and my companions avoid me because of my wounds, my neighbors stay far away. It was just a bit of Job vibe when his friends and family were being like, nah, sack it, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. Last one from me is from Psalm 39, verse 12. I dwell with you as a foreigner, a stranger, as all my ancestors were. And I think a lot of people, Christians, can relate to this because we're all adopted children of Christ, obviously. But it hit me pretty hard in some ways because obviously I'm not from a Christian background. I've got grandparents who are kind of Catholic, nothing else in my family. So you do kind of feel even more of a foreigner, I think, when you're not raised in the church and you come. But obviously everyone is welcome. And, I love that.
That's very true, man. I like it. And that's good.
Awesome.
Tomorrow's readings are going to be Psalm 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So why don't you pick up your Bible, get yourself digging in.
In the meantime, please consider joining us on social media at 2 Brits and a Bible and sharing this with someone to help spread the word of God.